Making mistakes is okay, and we need to be careful about how we think about and treat such things. Now, of course, as long as it's not a deliberate mistake or something that causes a lot of harm, a lot of mistakes, like in a classroom or whatever, when we're just thinking about something, are fine. Everybody makes mistakes. We need to act accordingly. Sometimes there's too much emotion and anger or whatever that goes into someone making a mistake. We need to learn how to deal with it and live from it, live with it, see what we or the other person is not getting in their thinking that led them to that wrong conclusion. Sometimes a mistake is just psychological. We all do things like that. You're tired, so you say the wrong word, you forget something. We make a lot more mistakes when we're tired, sleep deprived, so we got to consider that. Or in maybe some other situations if we're stressed or whatever. So think about the context of the person, as well as their knowledge, because sometimes you make a mistake and it's not a matter of not knowing something. You just are tired, you know perfectly well how to do something, you just can't do it because you're functioning suboptimally because of sleep deprivation. I know I was guilty of some of that before, so to those who I did, I am sorry. Growing up, the way I was, I thought it was a threat to like my self-esteem if I didn't know everything or pretend to. So I didn't like not knowing something or someone's impression of that. That was like silly and stupid. But you're a kid growing up, you kind of grow into some stupid things like that. That happens. As long as you correct yourself when you're an adult, you don't want to do something like that all through life. And then partly because of the way, like some peers, people your age, teachers, adults will treat you, you kind of internalize that and then treat people that way too. So it can take some time to break out of that. Do things correct, be more rational, more reasonable. But as long as you're trying, just keep at it and you'll get there. But we learn to distinguish between what we know and understand and what we don't know. It's important for our own minds and health and psychological health and for good relationships with other people. So we should work into admitting it and say, dang right, I don't know, so what? And with some influences in the culture that could be difficult, kind of hard on you psychologically and all that, but just stick with it. It's important. Try to find some people who are of like mind. It's good, psychologically healthy, and it's good support and all that stuff. Just better for your life. And even when we got that down, we still make mistakes. So for example, I've been learning some foraging, and recently, a few weeks ago, I mistook cherry laurel for American holly. Now, just being new to this, kind of being stupid, I thought that American holly was just some green leaf on a tree thing with like spikes on it. And so, hey, I find this other one, this green leaf that's kind of holly-ish with like spikes on it. And so then I make tea with it. Turns out, American holly, you can use that to make tea. Green leaves, dried leaves, teaspoon, tablespoon per cup of water. Just steep it. Don't put the leaves in boiling water. Put the water on the leaves and let it sit. But I used cherry laurel instead. Now, cherry laurel has cyanide in it. So I spent one Friday, 3 or 4 hours, figuring out what was going on. And it had happened like Monday or Tuesday before. That's when I had the tea. And this is Friday, so of course I'm not dead or seriously ill. So I knew things were okay, but I'm still concerned for my health and my functioning, and I wanted to know what cyanide does, what kind of dose matters, different things about cyanide, And one thing I found out through research was that cyanide is volatile at 78 degrees Fahrenheit. So since I was making tea, a lot of the cyanide would have just evaporated out of the water. I did have a top on it on my cup, so maybe some of it came back in, but I'd been taking some modified citrus pectin, and that's good for removing toxins from your body, and so that probably removed some of it in the first place. And you look on Wikipedia and you see that some sugars can take cyanide and some toxins out of your system and help you deal with it, because basically it destroys pathways that the mitochondria need to function. It works on a basic cellular level like that. Activated charcoal probably helps too, but I looked into things and thankfully it was okay. So if you can learn a lot from your mistakes. I learned a heck of a lot from that experience. Now the difference between cherry laurel and American holly kind of hits me like a truck. I have the same experience. You're walking across the street, you look one way, you see a truck coming, you got this powerful emotional response and this action response, movement response to it. Well, cherry laurel and American holly, I got that now. I've learned a lot about the two through that research. Know how to distinguish them, what they smell like, how to deal with cyanide. So in some mistakes we can learn a heck of a lot from it, and I wouldn't have learned all that if I didn't make that mistake. It's important to realize for teaching well, being a good student, dealing with friends or other people well, being good at work, it's important to realize that people make mistakes. We can have a better, calmer environment where people are more reasonable if we accept the fact that people make mistakes and learn from it. We can learn a heck of a lot from them instead of just getting all worked up and yelling and screaming and having everybody all stressed out and not being able to think very well. I've been on both ends of that side, sending and receiving, so I know, unfortunately. Wish we had a better culture and I had a better upbringing, but things are what they are. We just got to deal with it. Make the world a better place and have messages like this and help people out. We'll have a better culture if we deal with mistakes in a more reasonable way instead of just getting worked up and emotional about them. Think about like the cherry laurel example. You make a mistake, you can learn a lot from it. I think you look through history, a lot of products, inventions, technology, ideas have come out of people making mistakes. So let's put them in that context, look at them from a reasonable perspective, instead of getting all worked up and emotional and stressing ourselves and other people out. Hope that helps. If you have any comments or questions, let me know. And get out there and make some mistakes and learn from them.